So now that we finally have the ending of the 40-year timeline, we have the ending of that trilogy of films that David Gordon Green and his team have brought us. It's time for me to rank the entire Halloween franchise from beginning to end, from bad to good, from the worst to the best. Let's get going. Welcome back to Wrestling with Horror, and as I said, today we are ranking the entire Halloween franchise. Every single movie will be on this list. There are some that I love, there are a few that I hate, and there are some that are so bad they're good. But which ones are they? I think you probably know what my favorite's going to be, but that's beside the point, so let's just get right into this ranking. Starting us off, the bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst. I'm not alone in this sentiment. I know there are a lot of people who feel the exact same. But coming in at number 13 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I hate this movie. I hate it with a burning passion. I don't care if I ever see it again. I think it is horrible. In my mind, it's completely disrespectful to the entire Halloween franchise, to the character of Michael Myers. But that's not to say that there are not a few good things in this version. And it'll be the same with the first Rob Zombie Halloween film as well. But in this one, to me, the only good thing that I really like, well, there are a couple things actually, but one thing I like is I like the brutality of Michael. I like the pure stature of Michael. I think he is brutal as all heck in this film. He is a giant man, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, Rob Zombie's directing isn't horrible. He's a pretty good director, actually. It's his writing that fails. So his directing in this film is good. I like the shots that he gets. The cinematography's not horrible. I like that pretty well. But everything else, the whole story, the white horse, his inclusion of his wife and everything he does, I just do not like this film at all. Moving on to number 12, and this probably won't come as a surprise, but it is Rob Zombie's Halloween. And a lot of the same things I have said already can be inserted here. Like I said, I like Michael's stature, I like his brutality, but what I don't like is the first two acts of this film. I don't need to see an entire childhood story of Michael explaining why he is the way he is, giving him that backstory of he likes to hurt animals, he comes out from a broken home. I don't need that in my Halloween movie. I don't need that in Michael Myers. Part of the allure of Myers is that he is a mystery. We don't know what makes him evil. He is just purely and simply evil. And in this movie, we don't get that. We get explanation to questions that we weren't even asking. And to me, that's just, again, it's almost disrespectful to the character and the franchise. And the good things that I said about Halloween 2 are basically the same good things about this film. The only thing that puts this one above Halloween 2 in my mind is that third act where you basically get a remake of the original 1978 just amped up. So that part is decent, I can watch it, but the first two acts of this film are just not for me. Number 11 for me is going to be Halloween Resurrection, a film that is probably at the bottom of a lot of people's lists, but to me, I can still watch this film more than I can the Rob Zombie films. Halloween Resurrection is not a good movie by any stretch of the word. It is ridiculous, it's over the top, it's dumb. The entire plot point of the reality show based in the Myers house with Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks, it's not for me. I don't need that. I don't want to see somebody doing kung fu martial arts on Michael. And something that involved in that aspect of the martial arts aspect of the film, seeing Busta Rhymes walk up to Myers, say, "You need to get out of here, you need to go do your job," all of that. I don't like the fact that Michael just turns and walks away and he takes that. I would have preferred if Michael just snapped his neck right there. And that's nothing against Busta Rhymes. I'm sure he's a good dude. Same thing with Tyra Banks. They both did their job. They did what they were asked to do. It's the movie's fault. It's not their fault. The other characters in this film are very forgettable in my mind. The only good part about this movie is the opening scene, which you get to see Laurie. And unfortunately, Laurie's not in the rest of the movie because Jamie Lee Curtis realized that it was time to move on, and her character dies. And almost that first scene feels like a completely separate movie from the rest of the film. And that's a problem. But the thing about this film is that it's so bad that I can still enjoy it for being so bad in some ways. Number 9 is going to be Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This film is awful. It's not good. I don't like the director. I don't like the choices that he made. The god-awful version of the Myers house that he tried to pawn off on us like we weren't going to notice. We noticed. Okay, so this film, it does a lot of things that fans just kind of scratch their head at. We get the returning Jamie Lloyd, we get the returning Rachel, we get the returning Dr. Loomis, and all three of these characters are worse versions of themselves. Dr. Loomis is a psychopath. He's almost a villain in this movie as much as Michael. He torments Jamie and tries to get her to force her to give him information. He's completely lost his mind and gone deep into his obsession. Jamie, they decided to turn her mute. Don't understand why. I don't understand why they decided to just drop the plot point at the end of Halloween 4, which we're going to get to. Rachel, that smart final girl that we had from Halloween 4, is no longer that. She's just another body in this film, and she dies 15 minutes into the film. So you have completely destroyed that wonderful final girl that you established in the previous movie and replaced her with Tina, who is annoying through the entire thing. She just gets on my nerves. I don't enjoy seeing her on my screen. Her little noises that she makes, her character is not good. The only redeeming quality that she has is that she sacrifices herself for Jamie in the third act of the film. And that's just not enough. And on top of that, you get the ridiculous clown noises with the cops and just the weird choices throughout this film, and I don't get it. It's slightly above Halloween Resurrection for me because it's a part of the Thorn trilogy, which I like watching to completion. And that's just who I am as a film watcher. I like being a completionist. So if I'm going to take those three films, I have more nostalgia for them that way, and that's why that film ranks above Halloween Resurrection for me. Number 8 is going to be Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, or Halloween 6. However you want to call it, this film is next. There's a lot of things that I actually do like about this film. I like the performance by George P. Wilbur. I think it has one of the better looking masks in the series. But the problem with this film is that it just makes no sense. It doesn't matter if you watch the producer's cut, which I preferred for a little while, but then I thought about it more and I went back to the theatrical cut. The point is, it doesn't really matter which cut you prefer. The movie doesn't really make sense either way. By this point, Donald Pleasence is, he's not used very much in this film. They cut a lot of his stuff out, and, it's a shame that this was the last Halloween film he was a part of before his passing, because I feel like that character deserved a much better send-off than we got. Depending on the cut, you either hear him screaming or you see him get the curse and become Michael's keeper, or whatever you want to call it, like Dr. Wynn was. The characters in this film, we have a very young Paul Rudd who plays Tommy Doyle. I actually like his performance in this movie. You can tell he's not a very seasoned actor at this point. It's one of his first roles. But I actually enjoy him in this film. The Strodes that are now living in the Myers house, they are they're good characters. The father, John Strode, is a alcoholic, abusive man, and you almost want to see Michael kill him. And his death in the theatrical cut is actually one of my favorite deaths in the series. The other characters, you have Kara, you have Danny, who is very much a Danny Torrance stand-in. But you have these characters, and again, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But because of the brutality of Myers, the portrayal of George P. Wilbur, the mask, the Tommy Doyle character, I have a lot of love for this movie that most people probably don't. I think it's starting to gain that cult following finally, but it's still not a very good movie. Number 8, Halloween 2 from 1981. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for this, but this is where this film it ranks for me. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy this film, because I actually enjoy this film quite a bit. Watching it back to back with the original, it actually flows very nicely. There is a nice increase to the violence, to the gore. And I'm actually somebody who prefers a lot of gore in my horror movies. So you have the returning Jamie Lee Curtis, who is bedridden for a lot of this movie in the hospital. She's wearing a horrible wig. You don't get to see a whole lot of her. You have Dr. Loomis on his wild goose chase throughout the entire film. You have Ben Tramer getting hit by a police car and exploding. But the thing that I like about this film, as I said before, the kills. The hot tub scene, where the therapy tub, whatever you want to call it, that kill is one of the best in the series. You have Michael picking the nurse up with the scalpel and her shoes falling off. That's a wonderful kill. You have the embolism with the needle going into the side of the head. You have the doctor being murdered. These are actually very good kills. One thing I have an issue with is the walk of Michael. From what I've heard, Dick Warlock was never told to do anything different, so I don't really blame him for that. I just don't think that the director really said anything. Rick Rosenthal, was a first-time director here, and I think he did the best that he could. And I'm not saying he did a bad job. I think he did a good job. This is a good film. It's a good continuation of the original. It feels very much like it happens on that same night. So those are my reasons for Halloween 2 being at this point on the list. Don't attack me. Number 7 for me is going to be Halloween H2O 20 years later. The title aside, the way it reads is convoluted in its own right. But this film comes in here, and again, from here on, I enjoy every one of these movies for a lot of reasons. And there are certainly going to be bad things about each of these. However, I love these movies from this point on. So Halloween H2O was the return of Jamie Lee Curtis after 20 years away from the series. And her return as this alcoholic, pill user, trying to cope with what happened to her all those years ago, trying to do the best that she can to raise her son. I think it's a very realistic portrayal of where this character could possibly be after faking her death and trying to escape her murderous brother. So there's Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. The introduction of Josh Hartnett into this film as Laurie's son is something I actually enjoy quite a bit. I'm a big fan of Josh Hartnett. I have been since I first saw him. Actually, I think the first movie I saw him in was Pearl Harbor, which, a lot of people hate anyway, but that's beside the point. I've always been a fan of his. So his inclusion in this movie, I think, works really well. I think he's believable as her son. The ending of this film was phenomenal. If that was where the franchise was left, I think everybody would have been okay with it. Laurie just taking the axe and just completely chopping Michael's head off, it works. It works phenomenally well. And it's a shame that they had to completely destroy that with Halloween Resurrection. And the last little bit here for H2O is This film actually has some of the most rewatchability of the entire series for me, and that goes a long way. The problems with this one, the mask, I don't even want to talk about the freaking CGI mask. I think everybody's talked about that ad nauseum. I don't need to mention it again, except that I already have. Anyway, that mask sucks. Each of the masks that they use in this film sucks, except for the little tidbit that you get of the Halloween 6 mask. That one's good. The rest, they look like cheap knockoffs you'd get at Spirit Halloween for $10. Coming in at number 6 is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, the one without Michael Myers. You know, when this film came out, I can't imagine the shock that everybody felt when they went to see a Halloween movie and the main antagonist was not even in the film. We all know the story. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wanted to do an anthology. They never even wanted to do Halloween 2. But we got Halloween 2, and now we've got Halloween 3. So in this film, you basically have this mask company run by this man named Conal Cochran, who basically, these masks they're killing the children. They're trying to kill every child in the world on Halloween. And it's actually a phenomenal story. It's probably one of the better written sequels in this entire franchise. It does so many things different that you wouldn't expect from a Halloween movie. And to this day, I've always said that if this movie did not have the Halloween title and was simply called Season of the Witch, it would have been a hit. Maybe not a huge moneymaker, but I think it would have been remembered much more fondly and received much better. Number 5 is going to be Halloween 2018, the first part of the David Gordon Green trilogy. You know, you bring Jamie Lee Curtis back, you bring Nick Castle back, and we finally get the return of John Carpenter into this series. He is scoring the film along with his son and Daniel Davies. It's all coming together. James Jude Courtney comes in to play the Shape, and he does a wonderful job. He is my favorite actor who has played Michael at this point. He's done 3 movies. I think he is a wonderful stuntman. He's a fantastic Michael. He portrays the Shape just like how you would expect the Shape to act 40 years after the original. So in 2018, we catch up with Laurie, who is reclusive, who is almost kind of like she's prepping for the return of Michael. She's got this house that's basically a fortress. She has all these weapons, and she's training day after day after day. And she, again, in this one, turns to alcohol quite a bit, which, you know, again, makes sense. I can't blame her. The thing about this film, I think that I prefer the portrayal in H2O over this one within the character of Laurie herself. You know, you get the 2 podcasters who are basically just cannon fodder. They're there to be murdered. They're there to die. And throughout the entire movie, there's this sense of wonder. Like, is Michael going after Laurie again? What is he actually doing here? And then you get to the twist. The twist, which is the absolute worst part of this movie. I don't understand the logic behind it. Not a fan of it. I know there are some people who are fans of the twist. I'm not one of them. Seeing Dr. Sartain just turn around and stab Will Patton's character in the neck and then run him over, I don't get it. Him putting on the mask, I didn't like that. But we also got the introduction of Karen, Laurie's daughter, and Allison, Laurie's granddaughter, played by Andi Matichak, who is actually turned into one of my favorite characters in this trilogy. She does a fantastic job taking up the mantle from Laurie. And, you know, after this film was released, I had it much higher in this ranking. You know, after time goes on and, you know, it's kind of dropped down a little bit. I still love it. I like the newfound brutality that Michael has here. It's much gorier. The kills are nice. There's a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks, which I'm a sucker for. I'll admit it. I'm a sucker for Easter eggs and all the callbacks we get to the rest of the franchise. There's one for pretty much every movie. You get the little kids wearing the Halloween 3 masks. I enjoy that. You get the character of Julian, who is just hilarious and one of the best parts of the movie, easily. So it's a very good entry, and it's a very good first part to this trilogy. Coming in at number 4 is going to be the newest entry into this series, Halloween Ends. Again, I like this movie so much because of the giant swing that they take. They swung for the fences and did something that they knew was going to piss a lot of people off, and it really did. There's been a lot of backlash, a lot of hate towards this movie. Personally, I enjoy it. I like the Christine aspect of it. I like the character of Corey, what they did with him. The only part of this movie that I didn't really care for was the third act, the way that the movie ended. I didn't think that they landed the plane as well as they possibly could have. But the sheer, like, just left turn that they took in this trilogy it caught me off guard. As soon as the Universal logo hit and we got the little radio station thing, I knew that we were in for something completely different than we've ever seen in this Halloween franchise. I like the aspect of the title card and the fonts and everything being the same as Season of the Witch. I thought it was still very brutal. Michael was in here enough for me. I do think that they were a little disrespectful to the character towards the end, and some of the aspects of him being just beaten down and broken and an old man Myers, which, he is an old man. But after kind of setting up that supernatural aspect in Halloween Kills towards the end, which they did, they kind of backtrack a little bit, it felt like to me. But long story short, I like this movie. Its ranking on this list could change after more rewatches. I don't know, but as of right now, my feelings on this is where it's at. Number 3 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. He's been in a coma for years. He somehow hears that he has a niece that's alive in Haddonfield. He awakes. He flips an ambulance. He kills the paramedics. He steals it. And he steals a car, and he goes back to Haddonfield. It seems a little ridiculous. However, there are a lot of things to love about this movie. It went back to basics for the franchise, and I think that's really what people wanted. So, again, you have George P. Wilbur playing the Shape in this film. I liked him in Halloween 6. I like him in this film. The mask, unfortunately, is one of the worst of the series. It does not look good. Yes, I know he got it from a convenience store. It doesn't matter. I don't care. It should have been better. It just should have. But you also got the introduction of Rachel Carruthers and Jamie Lloyd, who the two of them together in this film are amazing. They do such good things. They're so good together. I love the two of them together in this film. Rachel is such a protector of Jamie. She protects her foster sister so much, and it's just fantastic. You get Dr. Loomis, who knows that Michael is back, and he goes off on his own again to try to stop Michael, to stop the Shape, to kill the evil. I enjoy the gas station scene. Donald Pleasance, there's always just a certain level of effort in his acting. I don't even think he can help it. I think he's just that good. So the scene in the gas station with Michael, I enjoy Donald Pleasance's acting there. Not a huge fan of the burn makeup on Loomis's face, but, what are you going to do? You have Danielle Harris making her first entry into the franchise playing Jamie Lloyd. Of course, she would also play Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 5, and then playing Annie in Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. But this was the first time we got to see her in the franchise, and she does a wonderful job as a young actress. She makes the character her own. She makes the character believable, and she's the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie, and she is heartbroken over the loss of her parents, and she has this new family, this foster family, and she almost feels like a burden on them, and yet they come together to protect her at all costs. Well, Rachel protects her. The parents are kind of gone on their Halloween party thing. All right, this one's probably going to get me in some trouble, but coming in at number 2 is Halloween Kills. I know, a lot of people hate this movie. They despise the dialogue, the ridiculous just repetition of evil dies tonight. I get it. But for me, I got everything I wanted out of a Halloween movie here. I got plenty of Myers screen time. I got some brutal kills. I got the legacy characters. Whether they were used the best they could have possibly been or not, that's neither here nor there for me at this moment. But I like seeing those characters return. You had Marion, you had Lindsay, you had Tommy, you had Brackett. You had all these people come back for this sequel, and it was nice to see. And again, you have all the Easter eggs for the other entries and different films in the series. The kids in the Season of the Witch Masks are back. It's just very nice, and I love this movie. So here we are, number 1. Could it have been anything else? I'm sure some people probably have this film not number 1, but for me, number 1 is the original 1978 version of Halloween, John Carpenter's masterpiece. This film ignited my love of horror movies. It is my favorite horror movie of all time. I've watched this movie more than any other movie. The shape hiding in the shadows, the stalking nature of Michael. I love everything of it. The way John Carpenter shoots this film, you have to look in the corners of the frame, seeing if Michael's there. And every time I watch it, I kind of notice something different about the way Michael is standing there. Maybe I've noticed a few times him in places that I haven't seen before. There are some aspects of this film, it's clearly not shot in the Midwest. It's clearly shot in California. But on a shoestring budget, what are you going to do? You have to make the best of it. And that's exactly what they did. Jamie Lee Curtis became an icon after this movie. She is the Scream Queen. She's the best, and her character still lives on to this day. John Carpenter's direction is phenomenal again. Dean Cundey shot this movie beautifully. Nick Castle's portrayal of the Shape was magnificent, only to be topped in my mind by James Jude Courtney because he had several films to work with and establish himself as the character. So, Halloween 1978 comes in at number 1. So that's my ranking. Let me know down below if you agree with me, if I'm an idiot. Well, don't tell me I'm an idiot. Be nice in the comments. But let me know what your ranking is. Tell me why you rank each movie here. I appreciate you all watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. It means so much to me. It helps out a lot. And share this channel with everybody who you think might be interested in horror wrestling. We're still deep into October, doing 31 Days Horrified. I've been super happy with the way that's turned out so far, and I hope to continue that in the next few days, in the next week or so. We're past the midpoint of October now, so we're on that back stretch. We're going to continue, we're going to push, and we're going to finish this month strong. Thank you for everything that you've done for me on this channel. My name is Andrew Dreamer, and I will see you next time on Wrestling with Horror.